Okay, so turns out that NVIDIA has now released a native application or app for GeForce Now for the Steam Deck, and I decided to take a look at it. What can I say? GeForce Now, it is the premier streaming service in terms of features, in terms of quality, in terms of latency, in terms of just about every sort of quantifiable metric. It's kind of miraculous just how good it is. So the concept of being able to port it to, bring it to Steam Deck as a native app obviously has a good application, right? So to begin with, how do you install it? Well, basically you need to go into the desktop mode on the Steam Deck, where basically you do need to sort of attach a USB hub, mouse and keyboard, that kind of thing. It makes the process a lot simpler. You install it from there. You go back into game mode, and then it's within Steam, and you can run it, and it's all good. I do have some criticisms of it, though, mind you. First of all, the concept of going into the desktop side of things to install the app, it's a bit challenging. It's not really what you'd expect from a sort of plug and play experience by the Steam Deck, but it's one and done. Once it's done, you're good to go. The actual menu interface, not a lot of work has been done on that to make it more of a kind of handheld experience, but you can still use the touch screen. It's just to access features. It's just that well, what can I say, it's very, very tiny text and features there. It could be streamlined significantly, but oh boy, once you actually start using it, you're just reminded of how good GeForce Now actually is. So I played 2 games on it, Cyberpunk 2077 and A Plague Tale Requiem. And to begin with, I had issues. And I was looking at Cyberpunk thinking, this is really jerky and not very good at all. But it turned out that I'd still had my game scope settings set to 30 FPS. So the app was actually being decimated down really poorly to 30 frames per second. And, put that up to 60, you're good to go. Still a bit jerky, though, and I guess this is one of the problems with streaming. If you run the game with an unlocked frame rate and you're using a fixed rate display like the Steam Deck has, it doesn't match. You get VSync judder or an approximation of it. But turn VSync on, limit frame rate to 60, you're good to go. I guess that leads to my other fundamental problem with it. Not so much a problem, just slightly problematic. Steam Deck OLED runs at 90 hertz, of course. You actually have to pair that back to 60 hertz in order to get a smooth experience, which, is not great. So there's a fair bit of initial setup to figure out how to get the smoothest experience. But what can I say? HDR works, just works. Beautiful on the Steam Deck screen. If you're subscribed to the 4080 tier, you're basically giving these games a galactic level of horsepower. The stream is 1080p 60, by the way, and that gets downscaled again to the Steam Deck's native resolution screen, 800p, I believe. It just looks phenomenal. And I'm just thinking back to what Oliver was talking about his home streaming experiences with handhelds,
right?
Using Moonlight
and such.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't try it, but I get it now just by using GeForce Now, and it's glorious. I mean, it really is a class apart from any handheld experience. It's just problem solved, really. All of the issues you might have.
I'm still hanging on this idea of galactic amount of power, though, Rich.
Galactic, an almost like cosmic scale.
Absurd. That seems almost like too much power.
Yeah, you just can't take it. It's too much power. But, what can I say? Give the app a go. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, really. I mean, you haven't tried it, but it's really good. GeForce Now was actually, famously, John, you have callously dismissed every single streaming service until you tried GeForce Now.
It's the first and only one that's actually good.
Yeah.
I would say, it's the only one where I look at that and say, wow, if I was in a pinch and had to play a game this way, I would be all right with that, because the experience felt almost native.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In a way that absolutely none of the other services even get remotely close to.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
It is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially because when you're using a mouse and keyboard to play, leg becomes extra important, and also the fluidity and the consistency. All those things instantly reveal themselves as problematic, and yet it does actually feel like you're basically playing a native game somehow.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
I still think it's a little laggy compared to what I'm used to on the desktop, and I think part of that may be down to the fact that SteamOS, I think, triple buffers everything.
Right, of course.
Yeah. So, it's not quite, everything you'd want it to be, but it's very, very close. So, yeah, I mean, a better interface would sort it out immensely just for sort of navigation. One thing that was quite interesting when I booted Cyberpunk, there was a point where instead of booting Cyberpunk, it actually booted Steam on the host PC, and it was streaming the Steam front end to the Steam Deck.
Whoops.
And I was trying to figure out what's going on here. This is something slightly odd going on here, but it turned out it was just SteamOS being streamed to the Steam Deck. And 90 hertz support, I kind of think that's, that would definitely help with latency.
Cherry on top.
Yeah, latency mitigation as well, obviously. And with the 4080, you've got more than enough power to get the job done there. Alex, thoughts on this?
What about this for Switch 2? Can you imagine GeForce Now on Switch 2 with 120 hertz VRR? Now that GeForce Now supports G-Sync.
Yeah, which is nuts.
I don't know if it supports generic VRR. I don't know that.
It works on an LG screen, which isn't using on my LG TV, which isn't using a G-Sync module. So you'd think possibly.
Yeah. So it covers the compatibility range. I mean, it would be interesting to see what that would look like on a Switch 2 because it's 1080p VRR screen. Maybe not all games are going to be 1080p, but they would be with a 480 packed, GPU being streamed over a network. So that could be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, the GeForce Now app, I saw a write-up on The Verge. They're very, very taken with it on the Steam Deck. They're saying it's revitalizing their interest in the system. I think, you've got to sort of be a bit realistic about it. It is fundamentally a system that requires you to be tethered to the internet in a way that the Steam Deck native experience isn't. But as an option, it's pretty fantastic, I have to say. So hats off to NVIDIA there. But I do think there is some work to be done there. Just to make it better. I mean, Cyberpunk with HDR really, really looks great on it, on the Steam OLED screen. It's really, really impressive. A quick tip here. If you Control G while you're in game, again, I guess you'll need a mouse and keyboard to do this, but you can bring up the stats, the streaming stats, bandwidth, in-game frame rate, stream frame rate. So yeah, that's how you can confirm it's 1080p, 60 frames per second, HDR10, and it's using HEVC bandwidth, typically around 30 megabits. So it's not too bad. Yeah. So I mean, this is the model to follow, and if you're going to be doing streaming, but again, Moonlight, as Oliver will attest, is apparently really, really good for the handheld experience there. So that was just a quick PSA, really. I mean, it came out, I tried it, I like it, room for improvement, but if you've got a deck and you've got a GeForce Now subscription, do check it out.